Okay, welcome everyone. Not that I can see anybody up top to know if I'm standing in the right location. We are doing a live stream here, so this will be interesting. So welcome everyone to the premier celebration of South Carolina Roadtrip Nation. Not really sure how we're going to compress everything that we want to share. We want to make sure that we do not run out of road here. After all, the best is just around the bend. I do want to do a brief around the world. I'm Susie Shannon. I serve as the president and CEO of the South Carolina Council on Competitiveness, or SE Competes, which gives you a little bit more of a flavor of why we exist. Within a collaborative framework of public, private, and academic partners across this great state, our mission is to advance the state's long-term competitiveness. It's hard to rake everything we do in a single pile, but we carry out our work through nurturing industry clusters like aerospace, with a nearly $30 billion impact, logistics, about a $34 billion impact, and that was before we were all hanging out on our couches and ordering stuff during COVID. And then technology and cybersecurity with an $89 billion impact on our state. All of that will become important, trust me, as well as managing the SC Fraunhofer USA Alliance Fund Match program with commerce that turns research into commercial reality for companies. But our evergreen issue really is education and workforce development, and that's why we're here tonight. So where we're hyper-focused on proven programs that get our kids and our young people excited and ready for career, college, and citizenship. And programs like Roadtrip Nation. When we embarked more than a year ago on the South Carolina Workforce Journey Initiative with our partner and our friends, the South Carolina Department of Commerce, and our friends at Roadtrip Nation, with stops along the way, such as the fun and racy Kickstart event at the Darlington Raceway back in March. Yes, Casey, you're here somewhere. He survived riding in the pace car with me. We knew we were hurtling toward a new roadmap with workforce development. The Roadtrippers have been moving at sprint speed, or to quote one of my favorite Mel Brooks movies, for some of you old enough to remember Mel Brooks movies, at ludicrous speed to really showcase the workforce journeys of fellow South Carolinians. So college versus experience-based training, 2-year versus 4-year college, lifestyle versus static careers. Our young people today are no longer simply forced into binary choices. So we have a new playbook. Tonight we're going to share a story. And if there's nothing else that we've learned over the last 3 years, telling stories is much more fun than sharing slides. So tonight's story and others to follow will inspire and re-inspire so that no matter which direction they point, our young people know that they can move from somewhere to somewhere. So one more thing before I get run off, a tremendous thank you to the SC Competes team. They truly inspire with their own unique journeys and their commitment to what we do every single day. And I want to acknowledge the support and leadership of the SE Competes board. John Lumpkin is here tonight, also serves on our board. Thank you. A special thanks to Elizabeth Kovacs and the Commerce Team family, to ETV, especially Stephanie. And of course, this initiative would not have been possible without the funding support provided by South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster and also Strata. Lastly, but most importantly, we are grateful to our road trippers, Alexis, Russell, and Emily, the fuel source for South Carolina's workforce journey ahead, making sure that we do not run out of road in the opportunities available in high demand, high need, highly rewardable careers like some of those that we just mentioned, and there are so many others, and to help them see what else can happen that hasn't happened yet. You're getting ready to experience that journey with them, whether on the road or in that Christmas tree green RV. It was fun to see that around. Or even hurtling through the air. Oops, I don't want to outrun my headlights and giving away too much on that one, you'll see. But next up as we roll on down the road is Harry Lightsey, Secretary of the South Carolina Department of Commerce, our program partner for South Carolina Roadtrip Nation. Secretary Lightsey, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's certainly my pleasure to be here this evening I promise you I won't have as many clever and funny road trip double entendre words as maybe as Susie did, but just briefly, I will kind of flash back to that morning in March where we were on the tarmac of the Darlington Speedway with the green RV, and it was a great morning. And now to think about this morning, my day started off announcing, probably not more than 20 miles from there, that Envision AESC is going to build one of the largest EV battery manufacturing plants in the whole world. And they're going to put it in Florence. And you think about the impact that is going to have on that part of our state. It plants a flag in the PD region to say that this region is going to be part of the future of mobility for decades to come. And that's an incredible signal, and to be in the room and to see the folks who have worked for years to reach an announcement like that. But the signal that it also sends is to our youth, and it says that we can and will provide great quality jobs in South Carolina, jobs that are on the cutting edge of the world. And I think that is significant as well. And to me, the whole neat thing about this Roadtrip Nation and this journey is that it is about our youth, and it is about showing our youth to think about career and life path and the choices that you could make and might make here in our state. And that is in a truly creative and exciting way. And that is what really thrills me about this whole project. I would commend the partnership, which is what we do. Our governor says it so well, that we cooperate, we collaborate, and we communicate well in South Carolina. And this is a great example of that. This partnership between SC Competes, Elizabeth Kovacs and our commerce team and workforce, the incredible creativity they show to bring this project to reality, ETV, the folks from Strata and from Roadtrip Nation. This has just been an exciting project from day one. I've followed the journeys of our travelers and their experiences as they went about it, and it's really been gratifying to see what they do. I will now introduce Larry Lutz, who is with Strata, and they have really invested in our state. It's something that we truly appreciate, their partnership in this tremendous endeavor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Secretary Lightsey, and welcome everyone. Good evening. My name is Larry Lutz, and I'm excited to be here with all of you tonight representing my employer, Strata Education Network. Strata is a national nonprofit organization pursuing social impact, whose mission is to improve lives by forging clearer and more purposeful pathways between education and employment. Strata became a major supporter of Roadtrip Nation's work when we made our first investment in the company in 2014. And we were thrilled in 2016 to have the opportunity to become Roadtrip's parent organization. Through its highly engaging video productions and supporting media assets, some of the latest examples of which we're going to see here in a few minutes, Roadtrip Nation opens doors of opportunity and illuminates pathways of possibility for people exploring career options. By giving career seekers a deeper, richer understanding of potential employment destinations, Roadtrip fosters aspiration and ignites motivation to take those first initial steps down a pathway. And by capturing and sharing inspiring stories of people from all walks of life who have blazed trails or trod unfamiliar paths into their own careers, it spotlights those pathways for others to follow. This is important and impactful work, and we're going to learn more about it during tonight's presentation. To tell you more about Roadtrip Nation and its innovative and highly productive partnership with the South Carolina Department of Commerce and SC Competes, I'd like to now introduce my friend and colleague, Roadtrip President and co-founder, Mike Mariner.
Hey everyone. All right, this is very exciting. I first want to start tonight just by thanking the Roadtrippers first. Russell, Alexis, and Emily. Just want to thank you for taking a leap of faith on this project. I mean, you really are our ambassadors in the center of this project, and I think we know that not every youth across the state of South Carolina gets the chance to live in a motorhome and go across the state to interview people that represent the future of work in this state. But that's the whole point of the storytelling and the content development around it. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't be as real and authentic, and I think as resonating if it was like me running around the country with a microphone, or someone from some journalist. The fact that it's actually other learners and students who are at this point in their life trying to find their path. And when we look back on this content, that's the thing we're most excited about is, one, we think that this is an incredible representation of an amazing state, and a state that is going through this incredible arc right now. Roadtrip Nation usually does big national cross-country road trips and puts it on PBS, and we partner with half of all U.S. public high schools to share our content in, and boys and girls clubs across America. What was really unique for this project was the opportunity to go state-based, and instead of just kind of blowing through states, to go deep, to focus everything on one state, all the way deep. And we have learned so much throughout this journey. And I just want to really thank, one of the best things about going state-based is that the coalitions and the people, and especially in this state, the Department of Commerce, the SC Competes, Susie and Elizabeth and Secretary Lightsey and Governor McMaster. The launch of the event alone, coming through the tunnel at Darlington with the motorhome was, and the whole team at SCE, South Carolina Public Television as well. It's been an incredible experience going deep into this region. And so part of it is the opportunity to work in a place-based way, looking at what the future of work looks like in this state. But it's also the vulnerability that these road trippers brought to the process. And I think the honesty in the storytelling. On one hand, it's a look at what the future of work looks like in this state, from structural engineers from Lockheed Martin, like literally building fighter jets, to doctoral researchers at Clemson, one of which just got awarded the MacArthur Genius Award last month, or the vice president of sustainability at Sudoku, who was one of the world's largest manufacturing packaging companies, and they were just made the #1 most admired company on Fortune for the packaging category. This is all right here in the state. And as you look, once you see the film, it's also the honesty of these individual stories. And so many times when young people see adults, it's like, oh yeah, everyone has these perfect career paths. Look at their LinkedIn profile. Nobody ever had to pay off student loans or get laid off or serve coffee or deliver pizza. It's like, oh yeah, they're just automatically vice president or director, or yeah, that's and because on LinkedIn there's no, and what we've learned on time and time again with Roadtrip Nation, especially in this road trip, is that when adults are open to sharing the total arc of their journey, it makes it feel more accessible and attainable to young people. And I think especially right now, coming out of COVID, where young people are really reflective right now. They're trying to figure out what's their path. Everything's been changed. There's a lot of innovation out there, but it's also scary at the same time. And we really hope that this film reaches South Carolinian young people across the state and gives them a sense of hope and optimism for their future. And we just want to mostly just say thank you to all of you for your partnership and friendship. And it's been, the road trip behind building this has been an incredible journey with COVID and everything else. And just leaning in, and we really feel like it's just beginning. Now it's taken us this long to get the media assets. Now we had the media assets. Thank you again to SCE PBS for, it's going to be broadcasting on SCETV on December 15th at 7:30 p.m. So check that out. It will also be on your PBS app on Apple TV or Roku if that's your preferred measure of watching. But anyways, yes, just want to say thanks to everyone here for getting this project off the ground, and I'm very excited to share the trailer now of the South Carolina road trip.
I've always been a wanderer. It always seemed kind of harder to find where I fit. I'm always trying to help other people, and I'm not like focusing on what Alexis actually wants to do, you know?
I just want to be happy, and I don't really know what that looks like yet. Today we're going to talk to Ed Curry. He's the founder of Pucker Butt Pepper Company.
We're cutting up a Carolina Reaper.
I don't even know. I'm doing it no matter what, so.
Now chew it up really well, because if you put that chunk in your gut, then you're going to have a real...
Ew! We're going on a road trip across South Carolina
To interview different people who do what they love.
to learn about how they got there, and also get to see South Carolina in all its glory.
I'm kind of scared to drive an RV, but it's okay to be scared.
Part of me wants to say I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm throwing myself into it.
We have a lot of industry in South Carolina, and I'm excited to explore that on the trip.
People are coming here because there's opportunities, and a lot of these people that are coming have different skill sets than what we'd seen 20 years ago.
I do hear negative things, I do see negative things, but I don't let it steal my joy because I love what I do.
You have to always be true to you and what you want to do and what you love to do. Eventually, the truth of who you are is gonna come.
I feel good. I think I'm kind of loosening up. I don't like stepping out of my comfort zone, and I've done a lot of that the past 3 weeks.
It really makes me realize that if I don't want to be in a situation, I'm gonna have to be the one that gets up and goes somewhere else. No one else is gonna do it for me.
My perspective on life has changed throughout this whole trip. I learned that you can look at any situation and turn it into something helpful.
All right. Let's hear it. Leap and grow, everybody. Well, thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Ben Cienko. I'm the events manager at Roadtrip Nation. I'm honored to host this wonderful panel with two of our road trippers, and one of the folks they interviewed, as we call them at Roadtrip Nation's leaders. So Emma, whether you want to or not, you're a leader. And so we're going to start our panel. So if you could give a warm welcome to the stage, Russell, Alexis, and Emma Paz. So we'll share a few more clips from the film, which we're really excited for you to see, but we're really excited to catch up with you. It's not every day that we get to connect again months after the trip has concluded and see what you're up to, what you took away from the experience. And Emma, to have a leader with us and hear that side of the story is really incredible. So Emily, by the way, the other road tripper, couldn't be here tonight because she got a job, kind of the whole point of this trip. So, and it's something she's enjoying doing. So we'll get more updates from Emily, but and we'll hear more from her in the content. But Emma, if you could just introduce yourself, because we heard a little bit of who the road trippers are in the trailer, but we haven't yet seen your interview, which will be all over roadtripnation.com for folks to see all of your advice. And again, no pressure. We already have that content. So just tell us what you do, because I'm shaky on what a geospatial app developer is, but
right.
Maybe people might be curious.
So no takebacks. Hi everyone. I couldn't be happier to be here and to have been invited, not just as a panelist here, but as part of your road trip adventure, which is just the coolest. So happy to be here. Emma Paz. I'm a geospatial application developer, which under the umbrella of technology and information, it means that I get to be a part of teams that put together architect map-centric tools that essentially benefit teams, other teams, and organizations that take sometimes very critical decisions that are geographically centered, and that applies to everything and everyone because everything is somewhere, and so I like to think that through a lot of the projects that I've been a part of and the organizations that I've worked for, City of Charleston for one, I was part of the emergency management team there, and so you can only imagine, when something matters, right, from hurricane evacuations and emergency response scenarios to when you're really hungry and driving and need to know where to go, right? There's technology that is there to help us, and so that's the sector that I love to work in. Most of the time I'm working remotely from home now, but as you saw, there's also this fun aspect of data collection. There's a lot of there's all sorts of aspects that go into the technology that I'm involved in, and so I'm happy to be here and represent.
Thank you. It sounds like we need to connect on, like, if you're driving a 38-foot motorhome and need to park somewhere, maybe we could develop something along those lines.
Well, I was really impressed by the way that it just happened. You guys somehow fit in my tiny driveway west of the Ashley, and I have a picture to prove it, and I'll never forget that, so. That's incredible. We'll have to share that out after. So that actually brings up something I wanted to ask the two of you. What is more frightening, driving a 38-foot motorhome, jumping out of an airplane, or eating a Carolina Reaper?
The Carolina Reaper?
I would say parking the RV.
Really?
For sure. Wow. For sure. Parallel parking, if you wait till the end of it, yeah, I hit the curb.
Curb. Well, it is a team sport, and you're on your own with the Carolina Reaper, though. That's one of the funniest clips, I think, in Road Trip Nation history. It's been circulating our office, so thank you for the sound bite. And kudos to you all for trying it, because I'm from the land of, like, clam chowder is as spicy as it gets up in New England. So, but I wanted to hear, aside from maybe those takeaways, what were some of the other things you learned about yourself on this trip now that you've had a few months to reflect on kind of everything that it meant to you? And we have a lot of time out on the road for that itself kind of introspection. What were some of your key takeaways of, what did you learn about yourself?
Okay, so personally, if I'm gonna go first, I would say that I have, and I'm working on it, a problem with stopping myself too much, because, like, for example, when I saw the opportunity to even apply to be on the road trip, I was like, even if I applied, I'm not going to get it. But at the same time, I knew if I didn't apply, I'm not going to get it. So that was kind of the start of it. And then through the road trip, I noticed, like, I could be doing this. It's not that bad. But because I don't think I can do it, I don't ever get it done. Yeah.
So kind of like what you were saying, it's kind of like a mind thing. We get stuck in our heads, and, like, I feel like my biggest takeaway was just going out there and trying and knowing I could do it. Like, you don't know at first, but if you don't do it, you don't know at all. So, like, you kind of just have to put yourself out there and go for it, and whether you know what you're going for or not, you just gotta try, really. My biggest takeaway was, like, figuring out I can do anything I put my mind to. Like, that's a cliche, but it's so true. You really can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah, I noticed a lot through the trip. We really pushed each other, and if one of us would do it, the rest of us would.
Yeah.
So especially, like, with the Reaper, Emily was like, if one of y'all does it, I'm gonna do it. But it was like that throughout the whole trip. So, like, if one of y'all's getting into the ocean, I'm getting in the ocean. And jumping out of the plane, too.
Yeah.
But we got it done.
That's incredible. Well, what a great group to be traveling with, to be pushing each other in all of those areas of just, like, experience and kind of making the most of that opportunity. I do want to kind of fast forward or kind of catch up to where we are now. How have you been applying those learnings, and what are you up to right now? Alexis, you want to start?
Whew. So right now, I'm still trying to figure it out, honestly.
I think I want to go into special education and be a teacher, honestly. And I have a degree in horticulture, like that's farming, so I'm completely switching it up, and I'm willing to go for it, because that's what the whole road trip was about. Like, we interviewed so many successful people, and I put the quotes because success is up to you, what you measure it to. And they basically showed me that it doesn't matter where you come from, like, no matter what you do, as long as you put your full effort in and you're just trying to figure it out, then you're going to figure it out somehow one day. But at the end of the day, right now, I'm just trying to figure it out still. I really don't know what I want to do still, but I know I want to help people, and I know as long as I'm doing something I enjoy, I'll be happy, honestly. And even if it's like a little 9-to-5 job that I don't want, it'll help me get to where I want, you know?
That's a good perspective. And I bet there's a lot of people in this room that feel like they're still figuring it out too. So you're not alone in that. Russell, how about you?
So I would say a lot has changed since the ending of the road trip. And, you know, and it changed fast. So I got done, I graduated, I lost my father.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It happens. But Alexis helped me. Like, she doesn't think she helped me, but watching it, knowing about her dad and some stories that she told me during the road trip, I kept that close. And so even on the road trip, I was like, let's just take more chances. And so I applied for university, got in, and I just started there. And before that, I started a job at a lab for that little break. And it's been a lot. So now I'm just getting my bachelor's.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that, and apologies and condolences about your father. It didn't come up in our prep call, and I could tell it means a lot to you that to have people close to you like Alexis. And thank you for opening up and sharing tonight, and also to both of you for sharing throughout this journey. So, well, I want to take it back to the trip because we have some more clips we want to share. Could you talk a little bit about some of the leaders you connected with? And the next clip we're going to hear is from Bonita Clemens. So does anybody want to tee that one up?
Yes. Oh, Bonita, I love her. Okay, so Bonita was absolutely amazing. She lost her mom from cancer too and started a nonprofit organization. And it was just very meaningful to even hear her story, because we go through a lot of struggles and we don't even look at other people. We just be in our head and we be like, oh my gosh, life sucks. But then you hear her story and like, it's so motivating because she didn't give up. She was in a car accident. She just went through so much, and she didn't give up. And she kept going, and I just love her. Like, she's so relatable because she's such, you can feel her spirit. Like, when you're around her, like, it's just so uplifting. And she wants to see people do better and do good. And I'm so sorry. Like, y'all should have been there. Like,
well, they're about to take a journey with us through hopefully what is incredible video footage captured by the Roadtrip Nation team, if I do say so myself. But that was a beautiful way to tee it up. So I don't think, let's just dive into the content. We're going to take a quick break and have a seat. Let's roll Bonita Clemens. She is the executive director of Diane's Call here in Columbia. So enjoy this clip, and we'll be right back.
Today we're going to talk to Bonita Clemens. She's the founder of 2 nonprofits. I think that nonprofit gardening is really cool, so I'm just going to ask her, I guess, about what drives her. Hi.
Good morning. Hello.
Good.
How about you?
I'm great. Welcome to my world.
Certain communities, there's not a lot of resources out there. She's trying to get us back to healing ourselves with our food and with the things that are naturally here. And a lot of people don't know about that.
I used to be ashamed to admit this, but I'm gonna say it to y'all. I've had over, you guess, how many jobs?
45.
Close. I'm not gonna put y'all through. From high school, I've had pretty much close to 40. But the one thing that I have done all of my life is Diane's Call. My name is Bonita Diane Clemens. Second name Diane, named after my mother, who passed away when she was only 42 years old. So I created a nonprofit to help other African American women with their health issues because she had a stroke. And it's one of the #1 killers of African American women. So I started this organization called Diane's Call, and I am the executive director. Diane's Call is a mission to connect families with fresh fruits and vegetables. That's our mission. There are plenty of careers in agriculture, and a lot of them are fun. And when they see us, Black women, out here having fun, working collectively, it inspires more sisters. Because remember I told you Diane's Call, one of the reasons I started it is because I wanted to teach other women and train other women about health. And what better way than to grow your own food? I recall saying that I'm gonna go to college when I grew up. And I went to college, not far from here, Benedict College. And I studied business and economics. But all of those jobs that I've had between that first job out of college and now, it gave me the knowledge that I needed because running a nonprofit, you gotta have business skills. You gotta know accounting. I believe that we should work in spaces that feels right. But I also think to get to that, you have to do some other things. You have to build that muscle up. You have to be a hard worker. But the secret to it is do what I love. And I am living my best life. I love waking up in the morning. Sometimes I just walk with a smile on my face because I'm doing exactly what I love to do.
I'm about to graduate and I'm looking for jobs, and I have like so much anxiety about like if I'm doing right by my parents, my family, how I'm doing, I guess, compared to my peers. I guess give me advice of like getting out of that mindset.
If you don't do what they want you to do, it's not disrespectful. It's not being disobedient. It's you being true to who? You. Because you know what's inside of you. You know what you want to do, right? But always know that they love you and they want what they feel is best, but it's based on their own experiences in life.
Can you share like how you got past certain peer pressures?
You have to always be true to you and what you want to do and what you love to do. Eventually, the truth of who you are is gonna come. So you have to learn how to build a muscle for those who tell you to be something that you're really not. What moves you to wake up in the morning? What's in your soul? What's in your heart? And sometimes it takes time to figure that out. But we always know what it's not. So that was what I struggled with. What do I want to do? I know what I don't want to do, but I don't know what I do want to do. But what I say is take time. Don't let anybody rush you. You just hang in there, stay focused.
Bonita is a very caring person. Like you can tell as soon as you meet her.
I love Bonita. She was great.
She had lots of jobs. So I learned that you may not like your job, but you can always take something good away from it that's beneficial to your life. You can look at any situation and turn it into something helpful.
It really makes me realize that no one else is gonna do it for me. If I don't wanna be in a situation, I'm gonna have to be the one that gets up and goes somewhere else.
I really have a hard time breaking away from like, you know, what I feel like I should be doing and what would make my parents happy. So hearing that, it was like, I should focus on, you know, what will make me happy. It's like counterproductive to try to do what others expect you to do because ultimately you'll find your way back to what you feel like you should be doing. And that's like what I really needed to hear in that moment.
All right. I'm going to welcome the panel back up. Bonita Clemens, everyone. Love that interview. And I think it actually, I feel like your response about you're still figuring out what you want to do next, like Bonita, right? There's so many different things. And Emma, actually, I want to come back to your story a little bit, because we heard Bonita talking about how many jobs she had and how her path was non-linear, perhaps, and how that might be the case, or at least feel it in the moment for a lot of us. But could you talk a little bit about pivot points in your own career journey, and maybe what advice you'd have for young people out there that are at a similar inflection point of deciding what that next step is?
Well, I can definitely relate, especially in the space of you can always learn something from whatever it is that you do. And going back to, I didn't just arrive at my profession from one day to the next. It took time to get there. And as I reflect on, a major pivot point was when I was a teenager. I was in high school, and my first job was at an ice cream shop. And then I upgraded very quickly next door to the photo booth at CVS. And together with some of my favorite classes in school, which were physics, a lot of science, most of my academic life, one of my teachers who I looked up to recommended that I look into pharmacy school. And so I was perfect, because I recruited my friends. We all worked at CVS, and so we had a blast. And then I migrated to the pharmacy, and I was like, all right, I'm really, I'm doing this. I'm getting my foot in, and it felt right for a moment. And then as I got into college and I, started taking the courses, particularly organic chemistry, of course, right? That was a big turnoff. And there were some other turnoffs that I wouldn't have known unless I was in the field, trying it out, every day. And I had great days. I had great days where, I got to translate for Spanish-speaking customers, and so that was a great aspect of the job that I didn't really foresee. But I got to do it, and so that was great. But in and out, I knew that it didn't really click with me 100%. So I had to pivot a few times in college. I don't know how many times I changed my major, but I ended up as a biology major. And as a city kid, I grew up in Chicago. Go Cubs! And it was unlikely for me to love field biology courses, but that's actually what I ended up loving the most in college. And it was so shocking to me, and it was 2008, and so you guys know what happened in 2008, that I had to go to grad school. I was just starting to discover what moved me, so I couldn't just stop. And it's really interesting because I kind of dove into student loans for the first time. I was fortunate that I went through my bachelor's without any debt. I got some scholarships, and enough that was completely free. And then, because of all the circumstances, I just had to do grad school, and I felt like the loans were going to be worth it. And, that's what brought me to South Carolina. That's what brought me to the College of Charleston. And what drew me was, the variety of sciences that I would get to keep diving into. And I was really excited about that. And then a very pleasant surprise was getting to do science through computer technology. And that's how I dove into GIS, just kind of on a whim, like, oh, a computer class, and science. And that's what clicked for me. Like, I can do science, and I can do it from the comforts of inside, and I can help others, and the magic that you can do, and the important work that you can do, visualizing data and compiling data and aggregating data. It's infinite, right? Because there's so much data that's being collected right now. I don't know how many terabytes, and data is what powers our world, so I'm just thrilled to get to work in it now. And again, it doesn't just happen magically.
Right. Well, and excuse me, I think part of what you touched on too, when we were preparing for this panel, we talked a little bit about experiential learning. And like even just that, maybe learning about pharmacy, you wouldn't know that part of the joy of that job, if that was the right job at the time, was translating Spanish for customers. Yeah. You know, and some of those other like non-tangible things that aren't on the maybe the hiring docket for
They're not on the job description
Exactly.
Always.
Yeah. That's incredible. Well, thank you again for sharing your story. And I do want to just take a moment to remind everyone, we're going to do a quick audience Q&A. So if you have questions for any of our panelists, be thinking of those now because we're closing in on audience Q&A time. So yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. While we're thinking about our questions, you talked about student loans, different factors out there that might be influencing teachers, influencing our education choices or next steps in our job search or career journey. Russell, Alexis, I'll start with you, but what do you feel young people, students, maybe you a few years ago could have used, but young people in South Carolina, what resources and things do you feel they most need or you most need to feel supported in that journey? Because I think there might be people in this room that could help kind of build some of those supports.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a big question.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah. So I really think with my own experiences, if high school, not even high school, just if society would, you know, act like an associate's degree wasn't a big deal like they do, you know, I think it'd be better off if high schools prepared you for community colleges, because I could not say that my high school prepared me for college, but my community college prepared me for university, for sure. So, I mean, maybe prepare students for community college, or, you know, I've heard a lot about like dual credit courses where you're a senior in high school, take college credits. I'm sure that would help. I don't have any experience in that, but
yeah,
that's what I think.
Well, that's powerful. And yeah, thanks for sharing that part of your story. I think like even just starting to remove some of the stigmas around, you know, what certain degrees or what certain universities or colleges or community colleges, what that means. Because yeah, it can be a great next step, and that's incredible that you found that and it prepared you for where you are now. Alexis, how about you?
So, as far as like South Carolina government, y'all keep going. But like as an individual, like a young adolescent growing up, I feel like the main thing you need is a support system. And even if it's like you feel like your family's all your God or your best friends that you grew up since like from childhood, like it's up to you what you put up with and what you deal with and how you react to things. And we can say we do everything alone, but at the end of the day, like we're all here for each other. You always need to like count on somebody else, even if it's like you don't have a car, you got to get on the bus. You're depending on the person driving the bus. Like we all have to depend on someone, whether we want to or not. So it's really your support system, and I feel like it's up to you to create that. It sucks if you have no one, but you gotta keep going and create what you need, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I got.
No, thank you. And it just to touch on what the sentiment shared earlier, that it's incredible that you found some of that with the road trip with each other. So that's great. Emma, any thoughts on that about kind of your journey, or maybe even just from like the workplace perspective, seeing now, you know, new hires coming in and things of that nature?
I mean, I agree completely from both sides. I think as a student, as a young professional, you have to know that it's not just you and your talents either. It's what you bring to a team and what you bring to a community. And I think, you know, some of that is taking on new challenges and knowing that you're going to learn a lot on the job. And then, you know, hopefully finding a community that starts in your neighborhood, that starts in your family, that starts at whatever company you know, dive into. But that community needs to embrace you and your talents and help you continue to grow. So and provide those experiences. Leverage partnerships. As a student at the College of Charleston, we did a lot of project-based learning, and we got to meet with officials in our own city, and from other organizations, and a lot of that is stepping out of your comfort zone, and you don't really know how important it is until maybe a decade later, in my case.
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing some themes: community support, community. The educators, your school, which is your community for however many hours. I mean, more than a full-time job for a big chunk of our lives. So, all right, I want to open it up for Q&A from the audience. Does anybody have some questions? And I'm having trouble seeing you, so just kind of like give me a shout. And I'm going to repeat it into the microphone for folks on the live stream because it's going to be hard to get out to the middle of the audience. So who's got a question for the Road Trippers or for Emma? So for those on the live stream, the question was, in middle school, high school, how were you introduced to different careers? Did you know some of the options out there before you went on the road trip?
So honestly, we were kind of forced into it. Like we had a core, and they like started teaching us math with lattice and weird things, and like they were just trying to like teach us how to learn differently, and it was confusing. They weren't actually like educating us on what is out there. They were just trying to change our method of learning. So like I feel like now we have the word keys. So like high school, we're kind of like taking tests to see what's better suit for us. But I feel like just taking tests is so it's more difficult on the mind, at least for me, because I have really high anxiety. So taking a test, I could, like, the output would probably be inaccurate of what I'm actually feeling just because I know it's a test I'm taking, so I might not even be, like, accurately answering the question, if that makes sense. So I just feel like we had job fairs and stuff, but it's like, it wasn't like, this is going to help you out. It was like, oh, if y'all want to go to the job fair, go to the job fair. Like, I feel like it could be more motivating and more in depth of like what we can do, because it's school, like we're children, we're not, I mean, you got your good students, but like we're children, we're not listening to them. Like, why do we need to know this? Why? Like I want to know why.
Yeah.
And it felt like a more forceful thing. So like I feel like if they implemented the different job careers out there to us in a more informational way, instead of like, oh, you can be a doctor, you can be a computer scientist or whatever, like, then we would take in the information more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, not in a test form.
Yeah, I would agree to a sense. So before the road trip, I was already like 2 years into college, and I had such a traumatic time in public school in general, so I've honestly blocked it out. But I would say that I definitely agree that they don't really prepare you, but I would say that if they were to say, here's what it takes to be a chemist or a marine biologist, because just because somebody likes animals doesn't mean they want to be zoologists, and kind of what it takes to be that, and then what it's like just to be in the work environment. Because, I remember being in the country, they were like, I'm going to go do construction. But then they're out in the sun for like 8 hours and they're done. They don't want to go back and they're over it. So like kind of preparing what it means to be in a work environment, balancing time more than just like, oh, you have class here, you have class here. It's like, what are you doing in between classes? Like, how are you developing yourself along with where you want to go and who you want to be for, I guess, your profession. Yeah.
Yeah.
But more exploration, for sure. Yes, definitely. More representation.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, I guess this is a good point to say thank you for participating in what is the next generation of that test you took, right? Which is the story component, as Susie said, to start the program, you know, the storytelling behind the what does it mean to be a construction worker. So you all kind of helped us create those videos for more students and young people to do that self-discovery and that career exploration. So thank you. That's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
First of all, I really appreciate the journey that each of you shared on your way to where you are now and what your experience was with Road Trip. And I'm just curious that through your journey, was there a preconceived idea that you had challenged with a specific field or a specific job? And when you actually got there, got to a place, got to an area, and kind of got to see a little bit more, how different was it than what your preconceptions were? Was there a time where that was just completely different than what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, so for those on the live stream, so was there a specific time that, you know, your preconceived notions of what you're going into, whether it was a job or what, et cetera, on the trip, were just completely flipped? And yeah, any moments like that on the trip?
So I wouldn't say that something on the trip flipped my idea, but so for example, like when we went and interviewed Thomas Kaiser, he's the drug discovery chemist. So when we explored his lab, it was very clean and proper, like how it should be for drugs to be made. But after the road trip, I got a job at an ink lab, testing inks and dyes and adhesives, and it was the dirtiest lab I've ever seen. And so just the idea that, you know, this, doing the same job in a different environment, like, I don't know really what I was expecting. I knew it wasn't gonna be clean, but, you know, just the experience of seeing a different lab, you know, maybe a medical lab versus an industrial or forensic lab, can change your idea of what it means to be, you know, a chemist, or like the different jobs that you can get as a chemist alone. Yeah, I would say that, but I don't think I got into any situations on the road trip that changed my view.
That's a good takeaway, though. Alexis, any moments like that?
Personally, for me, I mean, not really. Like, meeting Bonita, I was like, oh, a woman black farmer. Like, yeah, we need more of those. But other than me, I just feel like South Carolina already it's diverse, but when it comes to, like, high-end corporations, they're not as diverse. So, like, I feel like it could be the people like, okay, so it starts at the below, the education at the bottom. And when certain communities don't have resources to give them the education that other people might not have, then it's harder to reach those higher positions, if that makes sense. So for me personally, I know I can do anything, but other people, when they walk into a room and they're not like equally represented, whatever, it's like, it's off-putting, and it's kind of more intimidating, and it really just depends on the person if they're gonna just keep going for it. But it, like I said, it's intimidating, so it makes people not strive for better, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question, and I know we're coming up on time here. We have one more clip that is going to showcase some final advice from all of you. But before we do that, because we'll close right after that clip plays, any advice for the next generation of road trippers? Or, you know, we like to tell people, look, as much as we would love to take everyone on a road trip like this, it's not feasible. But you don't need the green RV to go out and do what we do and have these conversations with people like Emma. So for all three of you, kind of what is your advice? And we'll use this as your kind of closing advice, no pressure. for the next generation of road trippers or young people that are starting to come upon these inflection points, whether it's in middle school, high school, doing that career exploration, or community college?
So basically, I just want to say, like at the end, at the end of the road trip, we all got to write something on the bus, and my main thing was, it was simple. It was just be the change you want to see, because we all can complain and say, oh, this isn't the way it should be, or whatever. It's just like, what are we gonna do about it? You got to be the change you want to see, and just don't be afraid. Never be afraid. Whatever it is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to be you. Don't be afraid to do what you feel like you need to do.
I like it. Thank you. Yes, mic drop. Thank you. Emma, yeah.
I've got a little something that came to me this evening as I've been listening. The irony of what I do is that maps tend to use maps from a very bird's eye point of view, and life isn't like that. Life is more like, it's reality, and you don't really get the whole picture, right? You're in it, you're in the map, and you're walking down whatever path and there are some directions, but they're not always clear, right? And so I think if we can all find maybe an inner compass to tie it all up, geospatial, right? But really, everyone's got an inner compass, and I think being able to listen for cues, because I've taken two similar jobs. One was very rewarding, and the other one was really a challenge to my ethics. And you have to listen to when you need to walk away and maybe take other leaps, and hopefully by then you've established a community, wherever they may be, that you can fall into. But that inner compass, I think, is really important.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Russell, bring it home.
Yes, I took this question very different, unfortunately.
Okay.
I was thinking, if I could go on another road trip, what would I take with me?
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say a book, an empty notebook, and an extra pair of shower sandals. For sure.
Mic drop.
Yes.
All right.
Stay clean.
There's probably some deeper meaning to each of those items. We'll all be thinking about that all night. So we have one more clip for you, and we're going to hear some more inspirational nuggets of wisdom from these three in this clip. But enjoy the close of Leap and Grow, and then we'll wrap it up. So thank you.
It's the last day. I'm feeling a little bummed. It's almost over, but I'm really looking forward to reflecting on what I've learned. We are going skydiving today, so I'm super excited for that.
We're jumping out of a plane today.
I think when we get there, it's gonna hit us. The jitters are gonna come, and we're gonna be like, guys, are we really doing this? But then we're gonna just be like, you know what, we're here. Let's go for it.
My trick is I just keep going through the motions of doing the thing, and then eventually I'll just be up on the plane, just take a step off, I guess. I don't know how you do it, but just one step at a time, I guess.
I'm not really scared of heights. I like the weightlessness and not being able to feel anything in my stomach.
Grab fish, and then ready, set, go, and we go out. Okay?
What? I'm so nervous.
Alexis is gonna get up there and she's not gonna let go of anything. She's gonna be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get on this plane. Let's jump out of it. We're gonna get up there and they're gonna start counting and she's not gonna let go. And he's gonna push her. And I'm excited.
Oh, my stomach is hurting. This trip has given me so much to think about and so much to pass on to other people.
How exactly would you define success?
Success is measured one day at a time, man. Just one day at a time. Business has nothing to do with success. Business is just business. Success is living.
That uncertainty is omnipresent. It's everywhere. And you have to learn how to push it from your mind.
I used to be really, really afraid of roller coasters. Finally, I get on the roller coaster and I remember holding on for dear life. One day, I get to the top of the hill, I opened my eyes, and I threw my hands up. And I didn't know what was gonna happen.
Everybody have a great sky day!
I opened my eyes, and I screamed at the top of my lungs, not in fear, but in joy of the uncertainty of everything that was coming. Life is sort of that roller coaster in a way, but really that feeling at the top of that hill when you first go over and your hands are just off the bar. And that's when great stuff happens to you.
I don't like stepping out of my comfort zone, and I've done a lot of that the past 3 weeks, and I feel more confident because of it.
My perspective on life has changed throughout this whole trip. If my dad was here today, he'd be proud of me.
It's been a crazy experience. I've learned a lot, and when I get back home, I know that it's all just gonna start flowing back to me.
I feel good about the things I've accomplished on this trip, because there are a lot of things that I would have never thought I would do, and the kind of things I wouldn't do unless I had Russell and Alexis pushing me forward. Meeting everyone and being on this trip has really helped open my eyes to what is out there and how there's not, one right way to do things. All of these people took different paths, and they're still where they feel like they should be.
The thing about life is that you don't see the path. It's okay to wander. And in putting other things aside, it doesn't mean you can't come back to them. It just means that you're choosing something for now, and you're gonna explore that. You can learn something from anything.
I feel that everything that you can do in this world, there is a job for it, or if it's not, create one.
It just is kind of reassuring to me knowing that I'm not stuck like it feels a lot of the time.
You just have to do it. You just have to say yes. And usually the psyching yourself up to say yes is the hardest part. Getting out of your comfort zone and taking that first step is always the hardest thing, but the next step after that becomes subsequently much easier. So sometimes you just have to kind of get out of your own head, right, to take a new opportunity.
I've always been I didn't like meeting people before this. I didn't like going anywhere. I liked being shut in. I want to get out of the house now. There's too much stuff that's really close, and I don't know why I haven't been doing this so much sooner. It's why don't I just get in the car one day and just go? So I need to do that.
Don't be afraid to fail and move on from that failure. Because you may not make the right choice when you first go out to your first job, but you'll learn a lot from it. And you'll take a lot of those key learnings from that first position and say, I've learned now what I don't like, but I've also learned what I do like.
All successful people in life will tell you their lives are full of mistakes. They just learn from them and grow. But until you try to do something, those mistakes aren't going to get made.
Being a product of your environment is it's a cliche, but it's real. These people I've met along the way have shown me doesn't matter what your family's like, where you come from, how much money you have, as long as you stay yourself and go after what you're passionate about, it'll still work out. I might not know what I'm doing, but I'm on the right path.
Part of what you have to become sometimes as a scientist is you become your own experiment.
Ooh.
The control is how I am now. The experiment is me exercising my prerogatives of life, liberty, and some pursuit of happiness. What happens after a while is you recognize that you've become savvy enough to understand how to keep your balance, even as people are pushing on you in different ways. And that experiment of being able to deal with that kind of stuff, you become stronger, and before you know it, you've broken expectations.
I guess that's like the whole thing. I've been chasing this trip is I'm just trying to be brave.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks on behalf of all the partner organizations and everyone who helped put this awesome event together. Thank you for being here and participating in this story that's been told by the wonderful folks on the live stream back at Roadtrip Nation. Congrats on the wrap on this film, and a special thank you to Russell, Alexis, Emma for being here and being our panelists. Again, Mike said it at the top. This is live on SCETV December 15th at 7:30 p.m. So tune in there live and check out the rest of the content on roadtripnation.com. There's cards outside that have the QR code. You can see all the content, even the stuff that is some of the behind the scenes and whatnot. So thanks again, and yeah, that's Leap and Grow. Have a great night, everyone.